Saturday. My name is Stacey Leanne. I love makeup, I love true stories, and I am a huge horror fan, so if that sounds like you, let's hang out. This week, celebrating the release of I Know What You Did Last Summer, I thought we would take a look at the inspiration behind the movies. I will be going in with Jolie Beauty's newest collection, the collab with Ozzy Osbourne. Just look at that packaging. Is that not stunning? What a tribute to an absolute legend. So let's get into it. I Know What You Did Last Summer was released in 1997 and stars Jennifer Love Hewitt, Sarah Michelle Gellar and Freddie Prinze Jr. The film centres on 4 teenagers who are stalked by a hook-wielding killer 1 year after covering up a car accident in which they supposedly killed a man. It is loosely based on the 1973 novel by Lewis Duncan. It also draws inspiration from the urban legend of the Hook and slasher films like Prom Night and The House on Sorority Row. The ending follows Julie 1 year later in college. As she enters the shower, Julie notices the words "I still know" written in steam on the shower door, right before a dark figure crashes through it. So the reboot is in cinemas right now, and it kind of follows the same premise. So Jennifer Love Hewitt does reprise her role as Julie James, and Freddie Prinze Jr. is also in it, and Sarah Michelle Gellar. Yes, even the deceased Helen Shivers is making a comeback. This is going to be a trust the process kind of makeup look, so just go with me. So the movie, again, it centres around 5 friends who inadvertently cause a deadly car accident. They cover up their involvement and make a pact to keep it a secret, rather than face the consequences of their actions. So 1 year after the event, the past comes back to haunt them, as the group of friends are terrorised by a stalker who knows all about their gruesome accident last summer. They soon seek help from 2 survivors of the legendary Southport massacre of 1997. Julie is now a college professor specialising in trauma and living just outside of Southport. She has been divorced from Ray for some time, so she is sought out for help after her experience with Ben Willis. Though initially resisting getting involved, she does agree to help. Ray, on the other hand, well, I'll let you watch the movie. There is also a series on Amazon of I Know What You Did Last Summer, but it is absolutely pants and it did not hold my attention. So the first inspiration behind these movies were the urban legend of the Hook Man, or the Hook. He is a killer with a pirate hook type thing for a hand, and he generally attacks couples in parked cars. In many versions of the story, the killer is typically portrayed as faceless. In many versions of the story, the killer is typically portrayed as a faceless, silhouetted old man wearing a raincoat, a rain hat that conceals most of his features, especially his face. Story is thought to have dated from at least the mid-1950s. The basic premise is a young couple cuddling in a car with the car radio playing, and suddenly there's a news bulletin report that a serial killer with a hook has just escaped from a nearby institution. When they hear a scraping sound across the door, the couple decides it's best to leave quickly. I get it. Once they get back to the woman's house, a hook is found hanging from the door handle. Terrifying. So there are different variations of the legend. Some versions start the same way, like the couple spotting the killer and warning others, and then narrowly escaping while the killer holds on to the car's roof. In another version, a woman sees a shadowy figure watching the couple from nearby. The man leaves to confront the figure, who suddenly then disappears, thinking that his date has just imagined it. The man returns to the car only to see that the woman has been brutally murdered with a hook. In an alternate version, the couple drive through what's going on here? Oh, there we go. In an alternate version, the couple drive through an unknown part of the country late at night and stop in the middle of the woods because the car breaks down and the man leaves for help. While waiting for him to return, the woman turns on the radio and hears the report of an escaped mental patient. She is disturbed many times by thumping on the roof of the car. She eventually gets out of the car to find the man's butchered body suspended, hanging upside down from a tree with his fingernails scraping along the car roof. And then another variation, he is hanging right side up and either his blood is dripping on the roof or his feet are scraping against the roof. In other versions, the man doesn't return. In other versions, the man does return to the car only to see his date brutally murdered with a hook embedded in her, and other tales of women leaving the car when the date doesn't come back only to see his mutilated body either on the car roof or nailed to a tree. As she starts to panic, she then runs into the maniac killer. Another variation is the woman is discovered by police while being escorted to safety. She is warned not to look back. When she does, she sees the aftermath of the man's murder. This one is my favourite. So, a young couple are heading back from a great date when their car breaks down. They either run out of fuel or it malfunctions. The man then decides to head off on foot to find someone to help with the problem. The man then decides to head off on foot to get some help. She then falls asleep. Whilst waiting and wakes up to see a hideous person looking at her through the window. Luckily, the car is locked, so the person can't get inside, but to the woman's horror, the person raises both his arms to reveal that he is holding her date's severed head in one hand and the car keys in the other. Terrifying. and the fate of the woman is never known. Like, you wake up, you don't really know what's going on, and there's just some dude just there. That is terrifying. I love it. So, the first known publication of the story was on November 8th, 1960, when a letter told the story in a Dear Abby, a popular advice column. It read, "Dear Abby, if you are interested in teenagers, you will print this story. I don't know whether it's true or not, but it doesn't matter because it serves a purpose. For me, a fellow and his date pulled into their favourite Lover's Lane to listen to the radio and do a little necking. The music was interrupted by an announcer who said there was an escaped convict in the area who has served time for rape and robbery. He was described as having a hook instead of a right hand. The couple became frightened and drove away. When the boy took his girl home, he went round to open the car door for her. Then he saw a hook on the door handle. I will never park to make out as long as I live. I hope this does the same for others. Jeanette." Girl, sing. I told you this was a trust the process. So the follow-up, I Still Know What You Did Last Summer, was released in 1998. So 1 year after the brutal murders of her friends, Julie is attending summer classes in Boston, but suffers nightmares of the incident, the shower scene being one. Julie's roommate Carla receives a phone call from a local radio station and wins a vacation to the Bahamas. Lovely. Julie invites her boyfriend Ray, who, despite initially declining, decides to go. That evening, Ray and his co-worker Dave drive to Boston to surprise Julie, but stop due to a body in the middle of the road. When Ray discovers the body is a mannequin, Ben appears and kills Dave with his hook, then chases Ray in his truck. But Ray does escape and falls down a hill. So the next morning, Julie, Carla, and Carla's boyfriend and their friend Will depart for the trip. Elsewhere, Ray is at the hospital, but he disappears. That evening, at the hotel's bar, Julie is singing karaoke when the words "I Still Know What You Did Last Summer" appear on the screen. Terrified, she runs back to her room. Now, Derek, a dockhand, is tying up the boat when he is murdered. Afterwards, Julie is in her room and is unable to find her toothbrush. She searches her room before finding Derek dead in the closet. Horrified, she informs them, but Derek's body is missing when they get back to the room. Mr. Brooks, the hotel manager, refuses to believe her story. Mr. Brooks then notes that they are unable to leave the island due to an incoming storm. Ray, who has survived his head injuries, heads out to rescue Julie. So, isolated, the group goes to the room of Estes, the boat porter, to find out, when they can leave, and finds that he's been using voodoo. Estes appears and explains he was trying to protect them after realising that their answer to the radio station's question was in fact incorrect. He then tells them that Ben and his wife Sarah had 2 children, a son and a daughter. Ben murdered Sarah when he found out about an affair. While Ray takes the boat to the island, Will bursts in and takes the girls back to the hotel, stating that he saw Ben on the beach. While Julie attends to Will, he reveals that it's not his blood and asks Julie what her favourite radio station is, revealing that he in fact was the radio host and he had killed Estes. Will drags Julie to the graveyard where he reveals that he is Ben's son. Shock. Ben appears and attacks Julie before Ray arrives and engages in a fight with Will. When Ben tries to stab Ray, he accidentally kills Will instead. While Ben is distraught from killing his son, Julie shoots him dead. Back at the hotel, Carla is found alive and they are rescued by the Coast Guard. Sometimes later, Ray and Julie do get married and they buy a house and all that good stuff. Ray is brushing his teeth and keeps the door locked whilst he's occupied. Julie sits down on the bed and looks in the mirror, seeing Ben underneath. She screams as Ben pulls her under. Another nightmare? Who knows? There is a third installment, I'll Always Know What You Did Last Summer, that was released in 2006, but it went straight to video release for a reason. But the reboot, even it could work, I definitely want to see it. Researching this, I already know what happens. I am a slasher girl. I cannot resist a slasher movie, and I kind of love that they're like redoing them. And we've also got a prequel of Friday the 13th, but that's a series, and Derry. I think it's really cool. Have you seen it? Are you gonna see it? I Know What You Did Last Summer is in cinemas right now. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you next week. Bye. Let me know if you go and see it and what you think.